third thing, can the answers be carried forward from one S to the one S to, or from this S to the next S, and at the highest possible speed? These are the challenges. These are the challenges. So he says these constitute the very heart of the problems of the educational process. So how this can be fostered? By what means? Whether this can be carried forward at the highest possible speed. In essence, these are the challenges of educational process. Then you have already perhaps realized, and Professor Joshi has also said, evidently these are very difficult questions. Very, very difficult questions. Very difficult questions. It is not that it is very easy. These are very difficult questions. And the teachers or the educationists, in attempting to answer them, assumes great responsibility. Not only for his own age, but also for the posterity. We have the responsibility even for the prosperity. মই যিজনৰ শিক্ষাৰে শিক্ষিত হৈছোঁ, মাটিৰ পৃথিৱীত দিব্য জীৱনৰ স্বপ্নদ্ৰষ্টা মহাযোগী মহাঋষি শ্ৰী তৰবিন্দই কৈছে, we are children of the past, possessor of the present, but the creator of the future. I am accountable not to the present, because past is only our foundation, present is our material, future is our goal and so. We are children of the past, possessor of the present, but the creator of the future. Past is only our foundation, present our material, future is our goal and sumi. And that is why he says assumes great responsibility not only for his own age, but also for the posterity, bhavishyat prajanmor babe. গতিকে এই তিনিটাই হল আমাৰ main, these are the basic premises of universal education. Man's quest of himself and man's quest of the universe. Man's quest of himself and man's quest of universe means what precisely is man? What is the nature of this universe? And what is my equation with this universe? So these are the questions or problems or things education has to foster. Then what are the challenges? How this can be fostered? By what means? Whether this can be carried forward to the next age at the highest possible speed. And evidently these are very, very difficult questions. So you are to assume great responsibility in attempting to answer all these questions. Because we are not only accountable to my own age, we are accountable also to the posterity. Because we are children of the past, possessor of the present, but the creator of the future. So then, another thing. In the educational world, the thing education is guided by two value system, two values. Rather, guided by two views. One is called instrumental value of education. Other one is called intrinsic value of education. One is called instrumental value of education and other one is called intrinsic value of education. What is instrumental value of education and what is intrinsic value of education? When education is pursued for purposes other than educational purpose, and what is the basic educational purpose which we have just now discussed? What precisely man is, what is the nature of this universe, and what is my equation with the universe? So life is paramount. Universe is paramount. So this is the basic object of education. But when education is pursued not for achieving this purpose, but education has been used as an instrument to achieve goals other than educational goals. That is for vocational purpose. When education is pursued to get a job, then it is called instrumental view of education. Education is being used as an instrument not to achieve educational goal. Vocational training is an important thing, but it is not the primary goal of education. Rather, vocation is the consequence. Vocation is a consequence. Your engagement, your action is a consequence. But what is the primary object of education? I have to know who am I, what is the nature of this universe, and what is my equation with this universe. But when education is used for purposes other than educational, used as an instrument, then it is called instrumental view of education. Why? Because education is being used as an instrument. And when education is used purely for pure educational objective, for achieving educational goal, then we call education is being guided by intrinsic value of education. So both are essential. I am not denying that only intrinsic value should prevail. It is not that. But these are the two value system that guide our educational world, educational thinking, educational policy makers. Then let us clarify one thing, because we are discussing India's vision of education. In India, 4 things are not only similar, they are identical things. 4 things. And what are those 4 things? India's vision of education, India's vision of culture, India's vision of physiopsychology of yoga, and Indian spirituality. These 4 things are not separate things. These are just various ways to speak one thing. They are various ways only. And how? Let me again explain from the writings of Sri Aurobindo, from the writings of Professor Kirit Joshi. He says there is at present a need to clarify the meaning and aim of education. Because across the globe, education is being right now guided only by the instrumental value of education. That is why there is at present a need to clarify the meaning and aim of education, just as it is necessary to clarify the meaning and aim of yoga. আপোনালোকৰ যোগাৰ বিষয়ে আইডিয়া কি বাৰু? যোগা শৰীৰ চৰ্চাৰ বস্তু, ব্যায়াম, আসন, প্ranayam. But asana and pranayama are not yoga. They are means of yoga. The yoga which uses asana and pranayama as their only means, it is called hatha yoga. Because hatha yoga is not the only form of Indian yoga. There is Ashtanga yoga, there is Gyan yoga, there is Bhakti yoga, there is Karma yoga. And in the Bhagavad Gita, Sri Krishna asks Arjuna, Hey Arjun, tumi yogi bhava Arjuna. Become a yogi. Become a yogi. Verse number 46, chapter number 6. Arjuna was asked by Krishna to become a yogi. And what is the argument? Krishna says, because yogi is greater than karmi. Because yogi is greater even than jnani. Yogi is even greater than dhyani. In India, yoga is the heart of spirituality. Yoga is the heart of spirituality. When asana and pranayama are used for physical purpose, then it is called gymnasium. Then it is called physical exercise. It is no more a yoga. When same asana and pranayamas are used for therapeutic purpose, then it is no longer yoga. Then it is called Ayurveda. Then it is called therapeutic science. When the same asanas and pranayamas are used for achieving different purpose, then only it is called yoga. You have perhaps heard the adjective as a yoga sajya. They are not yoga sajya. You may at best call them asana sajya. They are not yoga sajya. Yoga is India's physiopsychology. Physiopsychology. And that is why Professor Joshi says there is a need to clarify the meaning of yoga and education, because both are misunderstood in this age. Why? The yoga is often identified exclusively with Hatha yoga. Hatha yoga means which uses only pranayama and asana. But in Jnana yoga, there is no necessity of asana and pranayama. In Karma yoga, there is no necessity of asana and pranayama. In Bhakti yoga, there is no no necessity of asana and pranayama. Even in Ashtanga yoga, developed by Patanjali, only 25% is only asana and pranayama, because Ashtanga means 8 limbs. In Ashtanga yoga, there are 8 components. Only two components are consisting of asana and pranayamas. 6 are other things. But nowadays, by yoga, we mean only Hatha yoga. Hatha yoga is not the latest version of yoga. It is the oldest form of yoga. Oldest form of yoga. And that is why Professor Joshi says yoga is often identified exclusively with Hatha yoga, and thus its true psychological nature remains quite veiled. So yoga is a psychological process. Mahayogi Sri Aurobindo says yoga is India's practical psychology. Yoga is India's practical psychology, not a physical exercise. Then what is the meaning of yoga? Sri Aurobindo has given a common definition of yoga in a very lucid manner. In his book Synthesis of Yoga, it's a very big book, containing more than 1,000 pages. And the title of the book is The Synthesis of Yoga. Synthesis of Yoga. He says, for we mean by this term means yoga. It's a methodized effort. Whether you are resorting to asana, pranayama, anything, means maybe there are thousands of means. And Sri Aurobindo has even said all life is yoga. All life is yoga. Even here only we are doing yoga only. So he says yoga, first thing he says yoga is a methodized effort. A methodized effort. There may be thousands of methods, but a methodized effort towards what? Towards self-perfection. So self-perfection is the yoga's primary objective, not the highest objective. So what it is? It is a methodized effort. Yoga is a methodized effort. What is its objective? Self-perfection. But how? How? Sri Aurobindo says, by the expression of the potentialities latent within the being. So asana and pranayama are the means to express the latent potentialities within the being. So this is the mechanism of yoga. You are to express the same powers which moves in sun and moon, same is moving in your being too. We are blessed with infinite powers. We are called microcosm, and the universe is called macrocosm. সাগৰখন হ'ল এই ব্ৰহ্মাণ্ড আৰু ৱেভ আমি হলো তাৰ ৱেভ তৰংগ ঢৌ চন্দ্ৰ সূৰ্যত যি শক্তি আছে সেই একে শক্তি মানুহৰ ভিতৰতো আছে প্ৰাচীন ভাৰতৰ ঋষিসকলে এই কথা আৱিষ্কাৰ কৰিছে গতিকে আসন আৰু প্ৰাণায়াম হ'ল ভিতৰৰ অন্তৰ্নিহিত শক্তিৰ অভিব্যক্তিৰ উপায় এইভাবে কৈছে by the expression of the potentialities latent in the being. So these three things are the basic fundamental things of yoga. Methodized effort, objective is self-perfection, and how modus operandi is by the expression of the potentialities latent within the being. Amar সত্তাৰ ভিতৰত অন্তৰ্নিহিত হৈ থকা সম্ভাৱনা আৰু সামৰ্থ্যৰ অভিব্যক্তি I am saying this is the primary objective, self-perfection. Self-perfection is the foundation. The ultimate object, here Sri Aurobindo says, highest condition of victory in that effort. So, self-perfection is not the highest victory, but the highest victory, highest condition of victory in that effort, a union. So yoga's ultimate objective is union, and the primary condition you are to achieve first self-perfection by the expression of the potentialities latent within the being, and yoga is a methodized effort. There could be 1,000 forms of yoga. There could be 1,000 methods, but union with whom? The union of the human individual with the universal and transcendental existence. You are to unite yourself with the whole universe, and after you uniting yourself with this universe, India believes in a transcendental existence. So there is also an existence beyond this universe. You are to unite yourself with that existence also, which is beyond this material universe. Why? Because that transcendental existence and the universal existence, what we are the partial expression. We means the human being. We are the partial expression of this universe. We are the partial expression of that transcendental existence. You may call it Brahman, unmanifest Brahman. You may call it one without second. You may call it ultimate reality, eternal truth, whatever you like. Word is not a big issue, but it is an existence. There is a transcendental existence. Transcendental means beyond this universe, which transcends this universe. Ei Brahmandor hipare. Brahmanda is manifest. That transcendental existence is unmanifest. You are to unite yourself with that transcendental existence. You are to unite yourself with the universal existence. But it is a progressive union, not in a single stroke. First, you are to unite yourself with your family. And that is why you need self-perfection. You are to annihilate your ego. Then you are to unite yourself with your clan, Bangha, then with the society, then with the nation, then with the human race. Then only you can hope to unite yourself with the whole universe. And after uniting with the universe, you can hope or imagine to unite yourself with that transcendental existence, of which we are partial expression. Why partial expression? In the Bhagavad Gita, verse number 7, chapter number 15, Sri Krishna says, what are we? Who are we? Are we means Jiva Jagat. Which is Mama Eva Angsha Sanatana. My portion eternal. And that is why Maharishi says here, partial expression. Because right now we are portion eternal. We are eternal part, but we are not the full expression of Sri Krishna. Sri Krishna says, you are my portion, you are my eternal portion. And in tactical spirituality, it is called Jivatma. Jivatma. And that is why Sri Aurobindo says, partial expression of that transcendental existence and that universal existence. Even there is divine within you, India claims. Ishwara sarvabhutanang hriddese Arjuna tishtati. যে ঈশ্বৰ প্ৰত্যেকৰে হৃদয়ৰ ভিতৰত থাকে তেনেহলে ঈশ্বৰৰ তিনিটা প্লেন আছে এটা হল ইন ইউৰ হাৰ্ট এটা দি হোল ইউনিভাৰ্স এণ্ড beyond universe transcendental existence. You are to unite yourself first with your own inner divinity, second with the universal divinity, and third with the transcendental divinity. আৰু এই যেটো মই ইউনিভাৰ্সেল ডিভিনিটিৰ কথা কৈছো গীতাত আমি মহাভাৰতত কৃষ্ণই যুদ্ধ আৰম্ভ হোৱাৰ আগতে অৰ্জুনক কি দেখাইছিল বিশ্বৰূপ দৰ্শন অৰ্জুনে মুখত কি দেখা পাইছিল সমগ্ৰ পৃথিৱীখন দেখা পাইছিল কৃষ্ণ that is what nothing but this is the thing that the universal Narayan আৰু এই union with the universe spirituality যেটো টেকনিক্যাল টার্ম ব্যৱহাৰ কৰে not union হয় it is cosmic consciousness বিশ্ব চেতনা আৰু যেতিয়া বিশ্ব চেতনাৰে যেতিয়া আমি উদ্বুদ্ধ হম আমি ভাৰতৰ বৈদিক ঋষিৰ দৰে আমিও কৈ উঠিম মাতা ভূমি পুত্ৰ অহং পৃথিৱা ভূমি মোৰ মা মই পৃথিৱীৰ সন্তান উপনিষদৰ ঋষিৰ দৰে আমি কৈ উঠিম অমৃত কৈ উঠিম শৃণ্যন্তু বিশ্বে অমৃতস্য পুত্ৰ হে পৃথিৱীৰ অমৃতৰ সন্তান সকল সন অফ ইমৰ্টেলিটি বুলি উপনিষদৰ ঋষিয়ে সমগ্ৰ পৃথিৱীৰ মানুহক সম্বোধন কৰিছে because we are portion eternal of Sri Krishna আমি অমৃতৰ সন্তান যে শৃণ্যন্তু বিশ্বে অমৃতস্য পুত্ৰ these are not intellectual conception these are the union with the universal existence so these are progressive evolution and then Professor Joshi says similarly education is often identified with vocational training or with some kind of mental culture but its fundamental nature of integral psychological process remain quite vague. So education is an integral psychological process. যেটো প্ৰসন্ন হৈ থাকে আমি পাহৰি গৈছো হেতু আবৃত হৈ গৈছে গতিকে nowadays we identify education only with vocational training. So in the right view of yoga and education we find education and yoga are one and identical process. Why? Vivekananda says what is education? Education is the manifestation of perfection already in us. And what is the primary objective of yoga? Towards self-perfection. So education and yoga not only similar, he is using the word identical process, one and identical process. Both are integral psychological process. And that is why yoga is called physiopsychology of yoga. And this is also the objective of Indian culture. This is also the objective of Indian spirituality. And that is why these four things are one and identical. Indian spirituality, there may be varieties. There may be variations, that's a separate issue. But in essence, the objective of Indian culture, objective of Indian spirituality, objective of India's physiopsychology of yoga, and India's vision of education are one and identical. And what is that? Right now I am Nara. One day I have to become Narottam, but finally I have to become Narayan. India only says that even I can become Brahman. Right now, yes, I may need 50,000 births. In every birth, through accumulated results, I will grow to a higher stage. To one step higher, I will grow one step higher. And after one day we will definitely become Narayan. Right now we are Nara. One day we will become Naruttam. But Naruttam is even becoming Naruttam is not our goal. I have to become Narayan. This is the sense of a very popular Upanishadic verse. Asato ma sad gamaya, tamasu ma jyotir gamaya, mrittur ma amritam gamaya. আৰু সেই একেখিনি কথাই অসমত জ্যোতিপ্ৰসাদে কি কৈ গৈছে, তোৰে মোৰে আলু কৰে যাত্ৰা, আমি পালো জীৱনৰ অৰ্থ অভিনৱ. দিছ জীৱনৰ অৰ্থ অভিনৱ is the mrittur ma amritam gamaya. And this amritam gamaya is the sense of becoming Narayan. I have to become immortal. This from mortality to immortality. This is our goal. So this is the fourth concept I have given you. Third concept. Then another two very revealing announcement of Sri Aurobindo. Why we value education? We means the modern man. Why we value education and science? We do not value philosophy. We do not value ethics. We do not value literature nowadays. But we definitely value science and education. Why? Sri Aurobindo says, he values education. He means modern man. For its utility. For its utility in fitting a man for success in a competitive or it may be a socialized industrial existence. আমি শিক্ষাৰ দ্বাৰা কি কৰিব বিচাৰোঁ, যাতে এইখন সমাজতান্ত্ৰিক সমাজতান্ত্ৰিক জগত, ইণ্ডাষ্ট্ৰিয়েল ছ'চিয়েলাইজড এক্সিষ্টেঞ্চ, আৰু এই অস্তিত্বৰ ভিতৰত মোৰ সন্তান যাতে নিজকে ফিট কৰিব পাৰে. দিছ ইজ দি প্ৰাইমেৰী অবজেক্টিভ. আৰু সেইবাবে আমি শিক্ষাক আমি অলপমান যে ভেলু দিওঁ, কিয়? not for the intrinsic purposes, but why we value education? He values education for its utility in fitting a man for success in a competitive or it may be a socialized industrial existence. And why we value science? We value science for the useful invention and knowledge, the comforts, convenience, machinery of production with which it arms him, its power for organization, regulation, stimulus to production. এই যদি বেনিফিটবোৰ নাথাকিলহেঁতেন, আধুনিক মানুহে বিজ্ঞানকো কোনো গুৰুত্ব নিদিলেহেঁতেন. একেবাৰে যদি সাধাৰণ শব্দত কওঁ, পাত্তাই নিদিলেহেঁতেন. যেনেকৈ দৰ্শনক পাত্তা নিদিয়ে, সাহিত্যক পাত্তা নিদিয়ে. শিক্ষাক অলপ কিয় পাত্তা দিছে? যে মই চাকৰি পাব লাগিব. নট অনলি চাকৰি পাব লাগিব, মই এই সমাজতান্ত্ৰিক শিল্প জগতত মই নিজকে ফিট কৰিব লাগিব. I have to fit myself. ইয়াৰ বাহিৰে আমাৰ আধুনিক মানুহৰ শিক্ষাৰ পৰা অন্য একো নিবিচাৰে তেওঁলোকে. And this is the whether it is এইটো এটা সৌভাগ্যৰ কথা নে দুৰ্ভাগ্যৰ কথা মই নাজানো. But this is what is true. এইটোৱেই সঁচা কথা. তাৰপিছত এটা the whole India's vision of education, যিটো মই অলপ আগতে ক'লো যে what is the basic premises of universal education? I have to know myself. I have to know the universe. And I have to know what is my equation with this universe. In short, I have to know myself. Now, let us quote what Sri Aurobindo says, which is moreover, although man has not yet really heard and understood the meaning of the sages. And what was the message of the sages? Sages means ভাৰতৰ ঋষিসকলে কি কৈছিল? এটা শব্দ আছে ভাৰতত কয়, বেদত আছে, আত্মানং বৃদ্ধি. Atmanang Viddhi means to know. Atmanang means know thyself. Know thyself. Atmanang Viddhi means know thyself. And Sri Aurobindo says this was or this is the message of the sages. Rather, this is the message of India. Know thyself. Atmanang Viddhi. But what the modern thinker says, but he has accepted the message of the thinker. We have rejected the message of the sages, but we have accepted the message of the thinker. And what is the message of the thinker? Educate thyself. But there is a fundamental and radical difference between know thyself and educate thyself. So educate thyself, Atmanang Viddhi, is the India's vision of education. And educate thyself is the modern view of education. So these are the two views. Educate thyself and know thyself. Know thyself is the message of the sages, and educate thyself is the message of the modern thinker. We, the modern people, we have rejected the message of the sages, and we have welcomed, we have accepted the message of the thinker. So you can very symbolically, the difference between India's vision of education and the 21st century modern scientific view of education. Difference between educate thyself and know thyself. Know thyself and educate thyself. So these are the two important things. Then, what is the present education? Educate thyself means what? Educate thyself means what? Because it is the message of the thinker. It is the message of the modern age. Educate thyself. Nijoke shikkito kori tola. Another disciple of Sri Aurobindo, Nalinikanta Gupta, writes, what we really mean by education is three things: acquiring knowledge, getting introduced to tangible objects, and gaining mastery over certain subjects or shastra. These are the three components of 21st century modern education. কোনোবাই পদাৰ্থ বিজ্ঞানত মাষ্টাৰী কৰিছে, কোনোবাই ৰাজনীতি বিজ্ঞানত, কোনোবাই অৰ্থনীতি শাস্ত্ৰত, কোনোবাই নৃতত্ব, কোনোবাই নাটকত, কোনোবাই কাব্যত, কোনোবাই সাহিত্যত, কোনোবাই ভাষাত. So this is a subject oriented educational process. We look at subject, we do not look at student. This is the irony of the modern education. Modern education looks at subject. Modern education, modern pedagogy does not look at student. Is it not irony? We are a psychological being. And modern education is striving to educate us without having any regard to my psychology. Whereas I am a psychological being. Subject is a non-living thing. Through subject is trying to educate a living entity. Is it not an irony? So this is the major three components of modern education: acquiring knowledge, getting introduced to tangible object, and gaining mastery over certain subject and shastras. আৰু আজিকালি কেতিয়াবা কেতিয়াবা খুব rare, which is towards right direction, but it is very uncommonly pursued too. What is that? That education signifies cultivation of faculties. Cultivation of faculties, development of various parts of the being, intellectual, emotional, physical. But these are least pursued. Korbat ketiaba, কোনোবা দেশত, কোনোবা এখন ৰাজ্যত, বিশেষকৈ আমাৰ মেইনষ্ট্ৰীম শিক্ষা ব্যৱস্থাত নহয়, এটা মন্টেশ্বৰী যিটো চিষ্টেম অফ এডুকেশ্যন আছিল, তাতে এই ফেকাল্টিজ অফ ডেভেলপমেণ্ট, ইণ্টেলেকচুৱেল, ইম'চনেল, তাৰপিছত ফিজিকেল যিবোৰ আমাৰ ফেকাল্টি বৃত্তি বুলি কওঁ সেইবোৰৰ ডেভেলপমেণ্টৰ ওপৰত গুৰুত্ব দিছিল গতিকে মডাৰ্ণ এডুকেশ্যন বুলি ক'লে এই তিনিটা বস্তু ওপৰৰ প্লাছ দিছ থিং ইট ইজ টুৱাৰ্ডছ ৰাইট ডিৰেকশ্যন কিন্তু ইট ইজ ৰেয়াৰেষ্ট অফ দি ৰেয়াৰ থিং predominantly 21st century education is a subject oriented education. You are to gain mastery over a particular subject. This is all about modern education. So now then we are to discuss about three fundamental in a very short in a very nutshell three fundamental characteristics of the ancient Indian concept of education. There are three components. As modern education is consisting of three components: mastery over knowledge, mastery over a subject, and getting introduced to tangible object. Likewise, ancient India's education was also consisting of three components, three characteristics. What are those three characteristics? First, number one, methodized organization of life. It was the first component, not subject, but the methodized organization of life. Methodized organization of life. Towards its fulfillment, আমাক এটা সাৰ্থক জীৱন লাগে তোৰে মোৰে আলু কৰে যাত্ৰা আমি পালো জীৱনৰ অৰ্থ আমাক জীৱনৰ অৰ্থ লাগে জীৱনৰ সাৰ্থকতা লাগে so a methodized organization of life towards its fulfillment and in that category you are to the students are to study many things. So where they are to study many things, ancient pursuit of individual and collective perfectibility, all life was education. The teachers looked upon his tasks as an observer, helper and guide. Student was looked upon as a seeker. Life has a rhythm of development. So these are its sub-components. So methodized organization of life towards its fulfillment. And the second component is, I am discussing in a very short, very precise manner. The second component was not subject, but integral knowledge. But then what is the difference between subject and integral knowledge? What were the basic premises of all education? Man, world, and my equation with the world. These are the three basic components. Likewise, integral education means, integral knowledge means three things: knowledge about myself, knowledge about the world, and knowledge about the ultimate reality. But today's education is consisting only with one component of integral knowledge. And that is why today's subject is one-sided knowledge. Why? It is only concerned with world knowledge. That is to say chemistry, physics, mathematics, biology, economics, etc., etc. India did not neglect this aspect. It was part of their whole package. And that is why it was called integral knowledge. Integral knowledge includes these three things: knowledge about the self, knowledge about the world, and knowledge about the ultimate reality. And knowledge about the world include physics, chemistry, mathematics, biology, arts, commerce, science, polity, democracy, political science, etc., etc. So knowledge about the world. That is why modern education is one-sided education. But in ancient India's vision of education was integral knowledge. It did not leave any part untouched. So, this is the second component. And then third thing, expression of individual and collective perfectibility. Perfection, individual perfection as well as collective perfection. As Jyoti Prasad sang, Ture Mure Alu Kore Jatra. What is the essence of Ture Mure Alu Kore Jatra? Ture means Ture Mure, your and me, that is collective. And so, this was the third aspect of India's vision of education. Collective and individual perfection and expression of the powers and potentialities latent within the being. Now you say, now you just compare, will it then be difficult for someone to secure a livelihood? If I am trained for a methodized organization of life towards its fulfillment, if I am provided with integral knowledge and also my powers and potentialities and perfection all are manifested, then will it be difficult for me to secure a livelihood? So this is what is called becoming Swarat, Atmadipta Bhagavan. If you are to become Samrat, to Samrat means to rule in the external world, first you are to become Swarat. Hemku Kobidanot goi Swarat shobdo to sabo pare. Dontia hoy boy so rotakare ram udeniya tho. Swarat means self-illumined divine. Master of self. Master of self. When you will become master of yourself, then only you can become master of the world. That is to say, you can become Samrat. So first you are to become Swarat. And when you will be Swarat, when you will be trained for a methodized organization of life towards its fulfillment, when you will be provided with integral knowledge, when your perfection will be expressed, when your all qualities within you, all powers within you, all potentialities latent within you will be expressed, then you will become Swarat. And when you will become Swarat, then you can become Samrat, master of the world, master in the external world. So will it then be difficult for someone to secure a livelihood when their inner knowledge, qualities, perfection and latent powers and potentialities are manifested and evoked? So that is why I was saying to secure livelihood can't be the objective of education. Education is to make you Swarat. And securing a livelihood is a consequence. You are to provide it with integral knowledge. You are to organize your life methodically towards its fulfillment. You are to express the perfection latent within you. Because Vivekananda says, all perfections are within you. These are only veiled. This needs to be unveiled. And that is why Vivekananda says, education is nothing but manifestation of perfection already in man. So then it will not be a difficult thing for you to secure a livelihood. Then I will become self-empowered. Swarat means becoming self-empowered, not empowerment. Empowerment is a conspiracy. এই যে আমি নারী সবলীকৰণৰ কথা কওঁ, মই এইটো ষড়যন্ত্ৰ বুলি কৈছোঁ। কিয়? আপোনালোকে যুক্তি লাগিব ক'ব লাগিল। You are trying to be empowered by your spouse. You are trying to be empowered by your family. You are trying to be empowered by parliament. You are trying to be empowered by law. These are good things, fine. Secure all these things. But if they withdraw it, আজি নাৰীসকলক সংসদে যি ক্ষমতা দিছে, আইনে যি ক্ষমতা দিছে, পৰিয়ালে যি ক্ষমতা দিছে, সমাজে যি ক্ষমতা দিছে, যদি উদ্ৰ কৰে, প্ৰত্যাহাৰ কৰে, তেতিয়া আকৌ you will cry. And that is why I am saying the movement for empowerment is a conspiracy against women. what should have been in place of empowerment? There should be a movement for self-empowerment. The latent powers and probabilities and potentialities latent within you need to be evoked, need to be manifested, so that you can become master of yourself, so that you can become Samrat in the external world. So movement, in place of movement for empowerment, we should begin a movement for self-empowerment. And that power is within us. That power is indeed within us. And আপোনালোকে লক্ষ্য কৰিব যিগৰাকী মহিলা আত্মসবলীকৰণেৰে উদ্বুদ্ধ হৈছে, she does not care anybody. কিন্তু যিসকলৰ এই তথাকথিত so-called empowerment হৈছে, প্ৰতিটো মুহূৰ্তত you are শংকিত যে যদি সেইসমূহ উদ্ৰ কৰি দিয়ে, then what will happen? আৰু সেইভাৱে মই কৈছোঁ, আৰু যিসকলে নিজক সহায় কৰিবৰ বাবে আত্মসবলীকৰণ through self-empowerment, who wants to affirm himself or herself, only he is blessed by the divine. যেতিয়ালৈকে মই আনৰ ওপৰত নিৰ্ভৰ হৈ থাকিম, this is so-called movement for self-empowerment, actually a reliance on others, reliance on parliament, reliance on law. Why I need to be empowered by external forces? I will be self-empowered. Whole universe is within me. Then let me talk about first let me talk another point. So Sri Aurobindo says, Aurobindo says that there can be no great dispute that there are three things which have to be taken into account. There are three things in all educational process which I have already discussed with you. The three things are to be taken into account. And he says there can be no dispute over these things. And what are those three things? We say the man, first man. But man, both men, the individual in his commonness and in his uniqueness. In his commonness means what? You are also a social being. You are also a member of the collectivity. And you have also your uniqueness. So man, two types of men. Man, the individual in his commonness and in his uniqueness. In his commonness means your nation, your society. And the third aspect is universal humanity. So these things you are to take into account always. Man, your nation, and the universal humanity. These three things you have to take into consideration. And he says, I think there can be no great dispute over these three things. And that is why he says, what should then be the living definition of education? He says, it follows that alone will be a true and living education, which helps to bring out to full advantage, makes ready for the full purpose and scope of human life all that is in the individual man. So this is the first objective of a living education. What is that? Which helps to bring out to full advantage. You are to bring out to full advantage. What you are to bring out? All that is in the individual being. Whether it is powers, potentialities, qualities, perfection, knowledge, everything is within you. That has to be brought out. Why this has to be brought out? Because education is to make ready you, make ready students. For why? For the full purpose and scope of human life. When we are taking into consideration the first component, man, means you are helping to bring out to full advantage, making him ready for what? Ready for the full purpose and scope of human life. And what you are intending to bring out? That is in the individual being. Whatever is within you, your qualities, your powers, your potentialities, your knowledge, everything is within you. There is nothing in the external world. External world is only your field. All is within you. And that is why yoga is a methodized effort towards self-perfection by the expression of the potentialities latent within the being. So this is the first objective of education. Number one. Number second objective, and which at the same time helps him means helps the student in what? Because to enter into right relation with life, mind and soul of the people. People means jati, nation, to which he belongs. So is it not a social part of the education? One is individual, second part is collective, social, national. And the third, and with that great total life, mind and soul of humanity, of which he himself is a unit, and his people or nation a living, a separate and yet inseparable member. My India is an inseparable unit of the whole world. My India is a separate, living and yet inseparable member of the world. And you are part of the humanity. So you are to know. Education has to help you to enter into right relation with the total life, mind and soul of the humanity. So all have been taken into consideration. Man, then the nation, then the humanity. All these three, when these three things will be taken into consideration, then you can call your education a living education. So then another thing, I am to show you one similarity, one with Sri Aurobindo's writing. You can search on Google. During the last century, that is to say 20th century, UNESCO, the highest international body dealing with education, science, culture, etc., had published two important policy documents on education. One in the year 1972 and the other one in the year 1996. In the year 1972, it was headed by one Edgar Farr. And why I am uttering his name? To let you know that he was not an Indian. He was not an Indian. Edgar Farr. The committee was headed by Edgar Farr. You can search on Google also. And the latest policy document was published in the year 1996. And the committee was headed by educationist Jacques Delors. who is also not an, who was also not an Indian. The title of the first policy document on education was Learning to Be. Learning to Be. Learning to Be was the title of the document published by UNESCO. Learning to Be. Why we are to learn to become. To be means to reborn. To be reborn. To be reborn. To be reborn. যদি আমি জ্যোতিপ্ৰসাদৰ ভাষাত কওঁ ৰূপান্তৰেহে জগত ধুনীয়া কৰে. This transformation is nothing but a rebirth, a new birth, rebirth. So why we are born? We are born to reborn. We are born to be reborn again. So that was the title, Learning to Be. And in the 1996, you will be astonished. What India has been saying, everything is within you. Power is within you, knowledge is within you, qualities is within you, perfection is within you. The title of the Jacques Delors policy document was Learning the Treasure Within. Learning the treasure within. What India has been saying since last 10,000 years has now been recognized by UNESCO in the year 1996. Learning the treasure within. And he has given us 4 pillars of education. 4 pillars of education. What are those pillars? First one was learning to know. Second was learning to do. Third was learning to live together. And the fourth one was learning to be. The title of the policy document published by Edgar Farr was made a pillar of education by Jacques Delors. So learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be. But all these 4 components has 3 layers of meaning. Each has 3 layers of meaning. One is very surface meaning, very common meaning. There is an inner significance. There are inmost significances. I am not going to explain those things today. Just I am saying it is not only as a learning to live together. It is something more. It is something more. So these were the 4 components of the Jacques Delors policy document. Learning to know, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be. Let me take one call. It's actually important call. মই এটা লেকচাৰত আছোঁ কিবা So learning to know has a very common meaning, has an inner meaning, even has an inmost significance. But why I am explaining these things to you? In a book written by Sri Aurobindo, the name of the book is Foundations of Indian Culture, which I have translated into Assamese. And for that translation, I was awarded with Sahitya Academy's Translation Award. In page number 174 of that book, Sri Aurobindo, while referring to the ancient India's educational vision, the exact verbatim, Sri Aurobindo, this book was written 100 years ago, in the year 1917. And the policy document, Jacques Delors document, was published in the year 1996. In the year 1996. The student life was framed to lay the groundwork of what the man had to know, do, and be. Exact verbatim. Learning to know, learning to do, learning to be. Only except the fourth one, learning to live together. Exact verbatim. So this was the primary object of ancient India's educational vision. Learning to know, learning to do, and learning to be. To be means from Nara, you are to become Narottam. From Narottam, you are to become Narayan. Your life has to be a journey from unreal to real, from darkness to light, from mortality to immortality. Asatu ma sadgamaya, tamasu ma jyotirgamaya, mrittur ma amritam gamaya. Education has to make you a new man. And that is what is the idea of we are born to be reborn again. Rebirth means transformation of your life, your second birth. Second spiritual birth, or second birth in light. In light. Like now you are assistant professor. One day you will become associate professor. One day you will become a professor. Like that, right now you are Nara. One day you will have to become Narottam. Then you have to become Narayan. But these are all progressive evolution. So the student life was framed to lay the groundwork of what the man had to know, do, and be. So if then I am to summarize, the whole concept of in ancient India's vision of education, then we can summarize in the words of Professor Gu-Mmttc. Professor Gu-Mmttc like this. There is a Sanskrit slok which goes on like this: Sa vidya ye vimuktaye. Sa vidya ye vimuktaye. What does it mean? The phrase Sa vidya ye vimuktaye is a part of the sloka from the Vishnu Purana. The whole meaning of the sloka was, I am not going to the exact Sanskrit text, but just to let you know about the reference, this very famous sentence, part of the sloka, was taken from the Vishnu Purana. From the Vishnu Purana, book number 1, chapter number 19, verse number 41. And the meaning is, that action which does not lead to bondage. That learning alone is which leads to liberation. All other actions are merely a cause for fatigue, and all other learning is a mere exhibition of skills in arts. If any activity, for our matter, educational activity, cannot lead you towards liberation, sa vidya vimuktaye, cannot lead you towards liberation, which does not lead you to bondage, rather lead you to liberation. Sa vidya vimuktaye. That is the objective of learning. That is the objective of vidya. All other exercises are nothing but what? Mere exhibition of skill in arts. And that is what is called learning to be. Learning to be. You are to free from all bondages. You are to free from all bondages. You are to lead yourself toward liberation. Liberation from what? Liberation out of all bondages. Right now we are imprisoned in the perilous prison cell of ego. We are imprisoned in the perilous prison cell of our desire, unlimited desire. But in this case, you are to distinguish between the word desire and need. Need is a different concept, and a desire is a different concept. You have to be capable of distinguishing between these words. Needs have to be fulfilled, but not the desires. And what is the meaning of transformation? As our Jyoti Prasad was saying, your desire has to be transformed into yearning. Yearning and desire are two different concepts. Yearningৰ এটা ভাল অসমীয়া শব্দ আছে ধাউতি. Desire হল বাসনা. What is the basic difference between বাসনা and ধাউতি? Desire যেতিয়া, when desires are not fulfilled, we become angry. We become dissatisfied. We become jealous. হয়নে নহয় বাৰু? কিন্তু এটা সৰু লৰাই যেতিয়া 8 বছৰত চাইকেল চলাইছে, সি বাৰে বাৰে পৰিছে, আঁঠুত ছাল ছিঙিছে, সি জানো ক্ৰোধান্বিত হয়? সিটো ক্ৰোধান্বিত নহয়, because that was his ধাউতি. ধাউতি is a very good Assamese word. এটা হ'ল আৱশ্যকতা, need is আৱশ্যকতা, যেনে মোৰ অন্ন বস্ত্ৰ বাসস্থান, এইটো মোৰ আৱশ্যকতা. Those are not desires. অন্ন বস্ত্ৰ বাসস্থান. বাট বাসনা কোনবোৰ? এতিয়া মই আপোনালোকক এটা সৰু এটা কথা কওঁ, এই যে কিয় লাৰ্ণিং টু বি, সেইটোৱে হ'ল মূল শিক্ষাৰ বস্তু. Why we are to be reborn again. ইয়াত কিয় কৈছে সা বিদ্যা ইয়ে বিমুক্তায়ে? মই এটা আপোনালোকক সৰু, মই আজিৰ পৰা 3 দিনমান এই আগতে জানিব পাৰিছোঁ, কিন্তু এনেকুৱা ঘটনা পৃথিৱীত বহুত আছে. দুজন বন্ধু, আজিৰ পৰা হয়তো 30-35 বছৰ আগৰ কথা, দুইজন বন্ধুৱে এতিয়া প্ৰতিষ্ঠিত, আৰু এজনৰ নাম হয়তো আপোনালোক সকলোৱে জানে, সিজনৰো নাম জানিব, মই নাম নকওঁ. কিয় জানিছোঁ? মই যিহেতু আৰ্ট অফ ডিবেটিঙৰ লগত জড়িত আছিলোঁ. আজি মই 30 তাৰিখে আমি এখন ডিবেটত নগাঁৱত আমি জাজ হিচাপে গৈছিলোঁ. যাওঁতে আমি 3জন পুৰণা ডিবেটৰ লগ লাগোতে একেলগে কথা পাতিছিলোঁ. তেতিয়া এজনে মোক ক'লে, বোলে দিগন্ত জানানে, আজিৰ পৰা 35-40 বছৰ আগৰ কথা, আমাৰ সময়ততো আগত তৰ্ক প্ৰতিযোগিতা হ'লে অমুকেই সদায় প্ৰথম হয়, আৰু আমি কেতিয়াবা দ্বিতীয় হওঁ, কেতিয়াবা তৃতীয় হওঁ, কেতিয়াবা নাপাওঁ পুৰস্কাৰ, কিন্তু এবাৰ মই প্ৰথম হ'লোঁ, আৰু সেই সদায় প্ৰথম হৈ থকা যিজন ব্যক্তি, তেওঁ সেইবাৰ দ্বিতীয় হৈছে. তেওঁ সদায়ে প্ৰথম হয়, আৰু তেওঁ আনক অলপ ইনফেৰিয়ৰ বুলি ভাবে যে তেওঁ থাকিলে আৰু আনে প্ৰথম হোৱাটো উচিত নহয়. কিন্তু ফৰ্চুনেটলি আনফৰ্চুনেটলি বিচাৰকে সেইবাৰ তেওঁক প্ৰথম নিদিলে. তেওঁৰ লগৰ বন্ধুজন প্ৰথম হ'ল, তেওঁ দ্বিতীয় হৈছে. এই ব্যক্তিজনে সেইবাৰ পুৰস্কাৰেই নল'লে. ইজ ইট নট বন্দেজ? তেনেহ'লে এই যিটো লাইনৰ অৰ্থ সা বিদ্যা ইয়ে বিমুক্তায়ে, শিক্ষাই যদি আপোনাক লিবাৰেট কৰিব পৰা নাই, মুক্ত কৰিব পৰা নাই, because we are imprisoned in the perilous prison cell of ego. It is nothing but the bondage of ego. আৰু সেই ব্যক্তিজন মই যদি আজি আপোনালোকক কওঁ, ই যে আপোনালোকৰ শিক্ষা জগতৰে এজন মূৰ্ধন্য ব্যক্তি, যিজনক ময়ো 40 বছৰ ধৰি মই চিনি পাওঁ. ময়ো যেতিয়া ডিবেট কৰিছিলোঁ, মই তেওঁৰ লগত টপিক ডিছকাশ্যন কৰি গৈছিলোঁ. আমাৰ বহু ডিবেটত তেওঁ জাজু হৈছে পিছত. কিন্তু কিমান ভয়ংকৰ কথা, আমাক, মইতো বাকী বাৰু পাৰফেকশ্যনৰ কথা নকওঁৱেই, আজি ইউনিভাৰ্চিটিত টপ কৰা ল'ৰাই যেতিয়া এছিয়াছ পাইছে, আমি আনন্দ কৰোঁ, কিন্তু 2 মাহ পিছত যেতিয়া জেলত যায়. গতিকে এই যে যিটো বিষ্ণু পুৰাণৰ শ্লোকত ক'লে, কৈছে এণ্ড অল আদাৰ লাৰ্ণিং ইজ এ মিয়াৰ এক্সিবিশ্যন অফ স্কিল ইন আৰ্ট. তেনেহ'লে শিক্ষা কোনটো? ডেট একশ্যন ইজ হুইচ ডাজ নট লিড টু বন্দেজ. ডেট লাৰ্ণিং এলোন ইজ হুইচ লিডছ টু লিবাৰেশ্যন. সা বিদ্যা ইয়ে বিমুক্তায়ে. So this is India's primary philosophical foundation of education. You are to become. So learning to be, this is the sense of learning to be. From unreal to real, from darkness to light, from mortality to immortality. From you are to liberate yourself out of all bondages. Then only you can become great. Your life will be great. Your life will then not only be precious to yourself, it will be precious to others too. So this is the first objective then. And second, education too, when rightly understood, number 1, would mean a rapid psychological process towards perfection. This is India's one of the vision of education mean a rapid psychological process towards perfection. Education is search for knowledge, but that knowledge has to be integral knowledge, not one-sided knowledge. Knowledge about the self, knowledge about the world, and knowledge about the ultimate reality. That is to say, quest of myself, quest of universe. That is to say, what precisely am I, what is the nature of this universe, and what is my equation with this universe. Second, education is a search for knowledge. And number third, it is a search for values. It is one segment. So this is the second segment. First segment is Savidya Vimuktaye, Savidya Vimuktaye, Savidya Ye Vimuktaye. Then it is also an uncovering of the layers of faculties, cultivation of them and perfection of them. This is the third objective. Uncovering the layers of faculties, our faculties of imagination, faculties of intellect, faculties of intelligence, faculties of memories. There are so many faculties are latent within our being. So education means uncovering of the layers of faculties. Number two, cultivation of them. And number third, perfection of them. Not the information about subject alone. That could be a supporting thing. Then it is a process of the discovery of the self. It is a process of discovery of the self. It aims at true self-knowledge, which gives liberation from ego and imperfection. Which gives liberation from ego and imperfection. Savidya ye vimuktaye. So mukti kar pora? From ego and imperfection. Education is a search for that knowledge which should fulfill oneself individually and as a harmonious member of the universe. But this is also the meaning of the yoga. So in short, these are the ancient vision of education. তাৰ অৰ্থ এইটো নহয় যেতিয়া world knowledge বুলি কওঁতে ভাৰতবৰ্ষই মানৱ জীৱনৰ লগত জড়িত কোনো ধৰণৰ বিষয়বস্তুকেই বাদ দিয়া নাই। আনকি হাতী কেনেকৈ প্ৰতিপালন কৰিব লাগে, ঘোঁৰা কেনেকৈ প্ৰতিপালন কৰিব লাগে তাৰ বিষয়েও ভাৰতত শাস্ত্ৰ আছে। আনকি আপোনালোকৰ মহিলাসকলৰ বাবে শৃংগাৰ ৰসৰ ওপৰতো এখন শাস্ত্ৰ আছে। শৃংগাৰ ৰসৰ ওপৰতো শাস্ত্ৰ আছে, ভৰ্তৃহৰিৰ শৃংগাৰ শতকম বুলি। ভাৰতবৰ্ষই মানৱ জীৱনৰ লগত আনকি কামসূত্ৰও আছে শাস্ত্ৰ। মানৱ জীৱনৰ লগত জড়িত একেবাৰে ফ্ৰম মুণ্ডেন টু হাইয়েষ্ট স্পিৰিচুৱেলিটি একো বস্তু ভাৰতবৰ্ষই বাদ দিয়া নাই। কিন্তু মূল লক্ষ্য এই অসতু মা সদ্গময়, তমসু মা জ্যোতিৰ্গময়, মৃত্যুৰ মা অমৃতম গময়। পাৰফেকশ্যন এণ্ড দি হাইয়েষ্ট ভিক্টৰী ইজ ইউনিয়ন। আৰু তাৰ গোটেই যদি অৰ্থ বুজিব খোজো, নৰৰ পৰা নৰোত্তম, নৰোত্তমৰ পৰা নাৰায়ণ। আৰু গীতাত এইটো 10 নম্বৰ শ্লোকত কৈছে, 4 নম্বৰ অধ্যায়ৰ কৈছে মদ ভাৱম আগতা। কৈছে কাম, ক্ৰোধ, ৰাগ এইবিলাকৰ পৰা মানুহে মুক্তি পায় বহু জনমৰ পিছত। মদ ভাৱম মানে মোৰ ভাৱলৈ মানুহ আহিব, কৃষ্ণই কৈছে। কিন্তু এটা জন্মতেই নহয়, অলপ অলপকৈ প্ৰগ্ৰেছিভ। ইভলিউশ্যন ইজ প্ৰগ্ৰেছিভ। গতিকে মূল লক্ষ্য হ'ল টু বি, টু বিকাম। উই আৰ বৰ্ণ টু বি ৰিবৰ্ণ। উই আৰ বৰ্ণ টু বি ৰিবৰ্ণ। এইটোৱে হ'ল মূল লক্ষ্য। মই বহুতখিনি কথাই এইটো পাৰ্টত মই কম বুলি ভাবিছিলোঁ। যদি মই পাৰোঁ ইয়াৰে কেইটামান বস্তু মই ছেকেণ্ড ছেশ্যনটোত ক'ম। তাৰপিছত মই পেডাগজিৰ বিষয়ে ক'ম। পেডাগজি মানে শিক্ষা বিজ্ঞান। এইটোতো মই থিয়ৰীৰ ওপৰত ক'লোঁ, বহু কথা আছে এদিনতে। আৰু মই গোটেইবোৰ কথা একেবাৰে ইন শ্বৰ্টত কৈছোঁ। থেংক ইউ দেন, থেংক ইউ। বন্ধ কৰিছোঁ।